views shared by our guests are their own and don't necessarily reflect those of the host, sponsors, or any affiliated groups. What you hear on this podcast is meant to inspire and inform. It's not intended as medical, psychological, or professional advice. As always, take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and trust your own inner guidance. I'm so excited to be here today with my friend Andora, and we are just going to see where this conversation lands. And we talked a little bit before we hit the record button, and so we're going to come back to what we were talking about, which was the Mandela Effect.
Thank you, and I'm so excited. We always have such a fun time chatting about weird stuff.
Yes. And I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
So what is the Mandela Effect?
So, what I know about the Mandela effect is there are lots of different ways that people describe it, but it's like there are several different things that are like cultural phenomena, different things like what we were talking about, like Nelson Mandela. There's a part of the population that believe that Nelson Mandela died in prison, but then there's a whole other side of the population that says, no, he didn't die in prison. He was president.
Yeah.
And people have very, very definite beliefs about or memories.
Yeah.
And like I'm one of those people that had a memory of him dying in prison. And then people are like, no, no, he was actually president. I'm like, what?
He was president.
Yes, he was
He
actually
served his
president.
time in jail, got out, became president. Yeah.
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 And then there are some other ones too that some of them I kind of am like, well, whatever. It's like the fruit of the loom logo. Some
Cornucopia.
yes,
Yes.
cornucopia.
It
But
had a
then
cornucopia, but
I don't
apparently,
remember what the other one. The other one is, I guess it wasn't a cornucopia or whatever. I
right,
don't.
right.
Do you know what it was?
You know what? I should Google it, but I think there's some people remember the cornucopia, some people remember it without the cornucopia, and I think now it doesn't have the cornucopia. Um,
But to me, I'm just like, okay, well, maybe it changed. But that's the
right,
thing with the
right,
Mandela effect is they say, no, it was always this way or whatever.
right.
I'm trying to remember some other examples that are kind of shocking, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. Can
The
you?
Monopoly man having a monocle.
Oh, that's yes, he definitely had a
He
monocle.
definitely had a monocle, yes, but they said no. Yes.
No,
And the popular misconception that Darth Vader said, Luke, I am your father. He said, no, I am your father. I don't remember that one well
he
enough.
said, Luke, I am your father.
It was Luke. I thought it was Luke, I am your father, but then we all said that as well.
So the understanding from this Mandela effect is that it's like a timeline slip. So we're slipping from one timeline to the other. So, one timeline, okay, maybe this is the way it really happened. In that timeline, Mandela did die in prison. And then in this timeline, he didn't die, he became president. And so it's like slipping in between the timelines because what's happening right now is there is a lot of this timeline slipping for all of us. The energy is super, super high. And I think this also relates to, we talked about this a little bit before about the timeline slipping and like the energy is super, super strong from the sun right now. The
Mhm.
solar flares have been so strong, especially in the last 2 weeks. We just had the strongest one ever recorded, and we are not done yet. And then there's also, which is really cool, along with the solar flares, there's been long periods when the solar flares are super, super strong. And at the same time, the Schumann resonance is just like off the charts. And then
Mhm.
it'll go kind of quiet and normal for a little while. And then there are these really strong spikes of of the Schumann resonance. And people are saying that this is relating more and more to more of that slipping of the timelines, which I think is very, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I keep hearing a lot of people who are in that psychic tuned in mode talking about different realities and different layers and how different layers can like fold on each other and how you can morph from one layer to another layer and not even realize it or shift from one energy to another energy. If you listen to Bashar, he talks about there's reality upon reality upon reality upon
Right,
reality,
right.
and you can easily just shift from one to the other by changing your vibration. And you're in this with other people who are doing the same thing. So you'd still have the same friends, but you might be different. Your relationship with them could be different. Your memories could be different. I've had people remember things like about my past that I honestly don't remember. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
was I there?
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing. I'm like, am I losing my brain? Or is it a shift? Is what I experienced in the past from a different frequency level than what I'm experiencing right now?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I've had very interesting experiences where after I do a really high level energy practice and I come out afterwards, it's very bizarre. And at first I thought I was losing my mind. And then I realized it's actually a really good sign. I come out and everything is just slightly different. You
Uh,
would never notice, but things are just ever so slightly different. And I
uh,
realized that when that happens, it's a really good sign. And that could be considered a timeline shift.
a shift. Yeah. Yeah. And that's like, do you leave your old self back in the other timeline? Is your consciousness,
Um,
is your consciousness splitting, but your
yes.
focus is on where it is now? And is the other one still moving along and
Oh,
doing,
yes, it
but
is.
you're just not focusing on it? So it's like, how do you decide where you shift your focus? And then you think about manifestation, and everyone says it's like what you focus on is what happens.
Right.
So it's like, well, that's so weird to think about your other self plugging along in a maybe a lower or maybe a higher frequency, the one where you want to be at. You're just not focused there, but you could be there. And how people can heal, like Anita Morjani's cancer story, where she was dead, she died, her whole body was riddled with cancer. In her near-death experience, she came back, she saw her father, and then when she came back, within 3 days, her cancer was gone. It all went away. I mean, just it was spontaneous, miraculous healing. So was that just, she was just in a new dimension, so now she can tell that story here to us, or I don't have the answers, but they're so much fun to think about.
Yeah, I used to visualize like when we go through a timeline shift, that it's actually like we shift over to a whole different timeline. But
Hmm.
I think all it really is you're turning the dial on the radio and you're turning it to a different frequency. So we exist in a different frequency. And because we are existing in a different frequency, everything around us is, we're engaging with life in a whole different level. And
Hmm.
so, of course, we're going to start becoming much, much more aware of things on a different energetic level. So I don't know if it's really like we are shifting and they're literally like gazillion different timelines. I think there are a gazillion different possibilities that we choose moment to moment.
Hmm.
So I don't really think it's like all those timelines literally exist right now. It's like we are just continually choosing what exists is this moment here right now.
Right,
Nothing
right,
else really exists outside of this moment here right now.
right,
And
right.
so,
And so then what is a memory, you know?
right.
And where does that come from? And,
Eh,
and it exists in this moment. If you think about it, like we are talking about the Monopoly man having a monocle, in our
huh,
memory, McMahon brought a check. So,
right.
these are things from our past. We remember being children. We remember, but that child me is not this me, but it carries energy from that child me, and experiences that the child me experienced are part of what makes me who I am in this reality too. So it's like, all right, so time doesn't exist. It's not linear, but we certainly feel it that way.
Hmm.
And as three-dimensional creatures in this here and now, that exists in our mind, at least, that we have a past and a future, we go from young children to old people, and we had friends in our past, and apparently that can change, because when you meet people that remember a boyfriend you don't remember ever going out with, or I mean, it's like, wait a minute, where is this coming from? It's so weird when that happens. And the Mandela effect, certain things I get, like you say, logos and names of products and things like that, but remembering a specific, like the Ed McMahon thing and the Mandela thing, are actual events in history that people remember differently. And how
Hmm.
could you possibly remember an event in history differently?
Especially such a major one.
Right, right, right. Yeah. And that was back when we all listened to the same news.
Really? Right.
And we were on more of the same page than we are today with everything so fragmented.
I
So,
thought it was so unusual for me because I'm one of those people who fully thought that Mandela died in prison.
yeah,
And then I was like, I didn't really recognize it because I didn't really think about it. Then it was
yeah,
years, a long time ago that I thought that happened. And then I was talking with somebody about this Mandela effect, and I was like, oh my God, that's crazy because I used to have that belief. But then I look and I'm like, obviously he didn't die.
obviously he didn't. And now you can go back on the internet and you can see where he was president and
Yeah.
they show it, you know.
And I'm like, so how does that relate that I had that belief, but now I'm in the timeline knowing that he didn't, that he didn't pass?
And was that a shift in our collective consciousness that
Oh,
you remember? And that's why it's like, do we shift together or do we shift into different layers, of reality where, in a different reality, he died in prison and probably a very different South Africa existed because of that or would have. Or maybe there's a way to go back and change the past so that the future is where we need it to be.
wow.
Yeah, because I know Trevor Blake talks about a concept called shooting the past. And it's going back when you have an event or something that didn't go the way you wanted it to in your past. Let's say you were in a meeting and you really screwed up and you meant to present something a certain way and it just came across wrong and your boss is mad at you and your clients are angry with you and everything went bad. To go back and think about that meeting going a different way and feel it and visualize it and kind of relive it in your mind as if it happened differently, and that it can actually shift the current moment based on just your thinking about that being different. So if enough people were so upset about Mandela that they shifted that whole reality so that he didn't die in prison but then some people have a bleed through where they remember maybe a previous
Yeah.
reality that's not something we collectively agree on anymore. I don't know. It's really fun to tinker with it, but it's so bizarre. Time itself is just so bizarre because knowing that it doesn't exist based on everything I've heard and read versus what I experience. Because in my experience, it exists. I did something last night and then here I am today, and tomorrow I'll do something else and remember that we had this conversation, or did we? You
Well,
know,
without time, we wouldn't exist.
yeah.
So
Or
we
would,
have to have time in order to have this human experience.
yeah, to have the human experience, we
Yeah,
do.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, who we truly are, we always exist, but to have this human experience here on this planet, we
right,
have to have time.
right.
You know the quote by Einstein, is this right? Albert Einstein. Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. So time is the illusion. It's not really real, but it's what gives us this human experience.
Right, right, right. And here we are in this very dense human experience, feeling bodies and feeling all the things that goes along with that. So I
Yeah.
heard somebody say the other day that the physical body can't come with us when we transition because it is based in fear and pain.
Oh,
And I thought, wow, that is so interesting because I mean, obviously we also get to experience joy and freedom and happiness and lightness and all these good things in our body, ecstasy, whatever. But the fear and the pain are pretty powerful. If you're in either of those states or both of those states, it's kind of all consuming and it's hard as a conscious being to pull yourself out of that. That's for sure.
and I don't know. That's a very interesting thought that that's why the body can't come with us, that it's more
Mhm.
of that energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about.
Yeah. And can we shift it to be in a better place for as long as we can, while we're here at least? Does it have to be in that space? Like Anita's story, with her cancer riddling her whole body, and then it was gone. I mean, it literally dissolved, went away. She's been cancer free for a long time. I mean, I don't know when she told her story, probably at least 10, 15 years ago. And it's a fascinating story. And to see somebody basically die and be completely full of tumors to coming back to 3 days later, no tumors at all. So,
I'm hearing more and more and more stories like that. People who are very, very sick and anything, many, many different conditions. I mean, even people who have been blind since childhood. And what I'm hearing is through different kinds of meditation. And they are raising their frequency so much that the disease, the disorder completely goes away. There are people who haven't been able to see since they were a child, 40, 50 years. And after these meditations, and they raise their energy so much that it just goes away. I mean, people are opening their eyes and they're seeing for the first time. People who have tumors all over their bodies and they're just going away. I mean,
mhm.
that's like, how does that happen?
Right, right,
And
right.
people have tests before and after to show that this actually happened. Doctors say, oh, that can't be. The test must be wrong. It's like, well,
Right.
how is the test wrong? Come on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It happens. It definitely happens. And yes, I mean there have been miracles and spontaneous healings long before we had video and medical testing. I mean, people had tumors, big tumors they could see, and then they'd go away. I mean, I'm sure it happened in ancient times as well. This is not something new, but we can talk about these things, I think, a lot more freely now and explore them in a different way. So
Do you feel like the energetic level of people is raising, or do you think it's going the other way?
for some people, it is. I
Yeah.
think there are groups of people that are definitely, for instance, us being able to record this conversation
Yeah.
and talk about it. Joe Dispenza talks about he used to have to start out his seminars explaining what consciousness was and what this connection of all things was. It was like this foreign concept to people. And now it's like we are accepting most of that information. And it's like, yeah, we already get that. We already get that we're all one. We already get that we're interconnected. We already get that our thoughts are powerful. Now what do we do with it, and how do we make it work, and what are the tools? And so I think there's a lot of people that are at a level with it where we've been talking about it now for so many years. I mean, I've been reading this stuff for more than 20, probably more than 40 years. Actually, now that I think about it, I think it was in my 20s when I really started getting into it and reading about things. And you look at Edgar Casey, in the 1940s, Edgar Casey was going into trance and helping people heal. So things have been happening for a long, long time. But now we have the internet. Now we have different ways that people can start sharing this and talking about this. And people that had near-death experiences 30 years ago couldn't talk about it. Doctors couldn't talk about it.
Right. You
Now
couldn't
it's
talk
like,
about
oh, let's put it on a podcast. It's like, it's so interesting and we all want to hear about it. And it helps people to hear that, okay, somebody was pronounced dead and they had this experience, and not everybody's experience is identical either, which is so fascinating too. But I think what it does tell us is that we don't die and just go away. There is definitely a part of us that continues in one way, shape, or form. And some of that is probably what we choose and what we're connected with energetically to help us go through that next phase, whatever that's going to be. And so, yeah, I think as a community, as a whole, I think people are in a million different places. I think we're more fragmented than we've ever been. But
it.
I think there's a group of people who are getting it. And I still believe that rising tide raises all boats kind of
Mhm.
thing. The more we raise our own vibration, which is all we have control over, and we connect with other people who want to do the same, so that we're doing it together sometimes and we're doing it in group sometimes, which makes it more powerful and more amplified. Doing it at certain times, like on 11/11 or all of that kind of thing. I think it helps everybody. It helps even the people that are not paying attention to it and don't know anything about it. Maybe it starts to stir something in them and open them so that eventually people start to understand and realize how we need to be. Because if you go way back in history and you think about the horrible things we used to do, I mean, there's still horrible things going on, but I mean, they burned witches, I mean, they burned women that did something good for somebody and said, oh, you're a witch because if she dies, you're a witch. If she lives, you're a witch. If we throw you in the water and you swim, we'll take you out and burn you. If you drown, then you're not a witch. I mean, it was like there was no winning. There was, and just the torture devices they used to put people in the situations. And I mean, we still have some of that, but it's not what it was 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago. I mean, I think we've evolved as a species, but I think we still have a long, long way to go.
Oh God, do we ever? Yeah, it's kind of surprising to see that intelligent people are still making the choices that are so harmful to other people and animals in the world, you know?
Yeah.
It's just
I
not
loved
something.
Billie Eilish. Did you hear her the other day? She
No.
gave a speech, she won an award. And I guess, I don't know, some of the tech bros, the billionaire tech bros were in the audience when she talked. And she's like, if you're a billionaire, why? Simple as that. Why? Why do you need to be a billionaire? I mean, put that money as energy to good use, whether it's starting a new company, hiring people, helping people, giving it to people so they can get back on their feet. I mean, there's a million things you can do with that money besides just keep it for yourself, you know.
Yeah,
And
hoarding it is not going to help anybody.
And
And
then
I think
Elvis's
Elon Musk,
granddaughter did the same thing. She was at a won some award for humanitarianism, and she gave $8 million away at that award. She says, "I'm giving this money away to help people do something." I mean, so I look at, and it's hard. I get it, because even those of us that have a little, and not necessarily considered rich by billionaire standards, it's hard not to want to hold on to some of it, for safety and security. But my gosh, when is it a point where you have so much money that you could spend $10,000 a day for the next 500 years and you'd never run out,
Mhm.
you know? So
Musk, I believe, is set to become the world's first trillionaire.
trillionaire,
Trillion.
trillion with the T. That's more than a lot of countries have in their
Yeah.
whole economy. Yeah. And then you've got people living on $30 a year, trying
Yeah.
to trying to get beans and fresh water and a clean place to sleep and somewhere to do
Yeah,
their
that's
business.
something that if we could shift even just that, if we could get these billionaires and now trillionaire to simply share their
Yeah.
resources to help make the world a better place. But the problem is that they're so greedy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's anything that we could ever do to change that, you know? Um, for me, I mean, I don't have, I've got like nothing, and I'm still helping people and animals. And I
Uh,
will always be that way. I've always been that way since I was a child.
yeah.
And so I think it's just how you are. And I used to think I could change people. I could help wake them up and make them care.
Yeah. Well, have you heard the story about hell and heaven?
No.
Okay. Well, there's this story where a person goes up with, the divine being, and he says, "This is hell." And he opens a door and the guy looks in, and there's this big round table, this like wonderful, yummy pot of soup. And it's just this incredible pot of soup. And everybody has these big long spoons and these tiny little like T-Rex arms. And they can't get the spoon in their mouth to eat the soup. And they're gnashing their teeth and they're angry. And they're like, "This is the worst thing ever. We're starving. We hate each other. We hate this soup. We hate this place. It's awful." And guy shuts the door, goes, "All right, we're going to go look at heaven." He opens the door. It's the same thing. It's this bowl of soup, people with little hands, and they're taking their big long spoon and they're feeding the person next to them. And then somebody feeds them. And it's like, oh, it's the same situation, but how we deal with it and how we work with each other and help each other and care about each other makes the situation better for everybody. You know,
Absolutely.
and when you're
Yeah.
just thinking about yourself and how do I get that spoon into my mouth, you're miserable because you can't do it. And so we have these billionaires that are doing a lot of this, but they have short, long enough arms to get the spoon into their own mouth and eat all the soup and leave everybody else without any soup. So, um, yeah, yeah. I don't know the answer, but and the thing is, we can only control ourselves. So,
So even though on the surface it looks like, things are just getting worse, I do believe somehow, that things are going to get better. I don't know how. Um, but I do think that we are living in a time that something, probably many things that are so unexpected are going to happen and will give us an opportunity to, maybe this is where the splitting happens. I don't know if the splitting is already happening or not, but there are going to be some very unexpected things that happen, and it's going to give us choice to go one way or the other. And maybe that has something to do with Three Eye Atlas and all of
Yeah,
that. That's
yeah,
very interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. What do you think about all of that? I haven't really looked into that deeply, so share a little bit with me. I'm curious.
Well, I definitely think that it's a foreign, like an extraterrestrial object. There's no doubt in my mind. I've watched several different videos, and they seem to me to prove without a doubt that it is, there's consciousness on board, and it's doing things that comets simply don't do. Comets
Oh,
have a, what is that called? It's like a tail.
yeah.
It looks a certain way, and this does not have that. And so, not only that, it has a light that's coming off of it that is huge. It's much bigger than a normal comet. And the tail that it does have is not in the front, it's in the back. And it's changed its speed, it's slowed down. Is that right? It was going really, really fast. I don't know the speed. So it was going really, really fast, and then it slowed down, which
Mm-mm.
comets don't do
Comets
that.
don't. Yeah, no.
And then it changed direction.
Comets don't do that either.
No, they
No,
don't.
no.
And just recently, I just saw it for a moment this morning. They just recently discovered another object in between Three Eye Atlas and Earth, I guess. Um, and it also looks like it's not a comet. So very interesting. And the other thing about this too is that, okay, all of that's very interesting. But then if you look at all of the astrology and all of the predictions that have been in place for hundreds of years, if not longer,
Yes.
that this was going to happen at exactly this time with the planets in exactly like these super powerful positions. I do not think it is an accident at all. And one, I think they were a psychic or a channeler or something like that. They were doing an interview, and they said that Three Eye Atlas was positioning itself right behind the sun because it was going to, like recharge or charge itself. And then
Mm,
they said this before it even happened, and then it actually happened. Three Eye Atlas was actually absorbing massive amounts of solar power from the sun. The solar was ejecting these major solar flares right into Three Eye Atlas.
weird. Oh,
Yeah.
how weird.
So there's a lot of very interesting things happening around
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Oh, I got to do some research on that. That's fascinating. I've seen a little bit, but I haven't had time to really delve into it. So, and it's interesting too. A lot of psychics have said that we will be visited. And a lot of them have said we've already been visited. Governments have already been working with these extraterrestrials and have known about it, but it's going to become public knowledge that we're ready to see it and understand it and learn more about it. And they're ready to reveal themselves to us, whoever they are. And maybe this is one of the one of the things. So I don't know. I don't know. And interesting that, like you said, the sun's rays and energy has been off the charts, and maybe it's has something to do with that too. Maybe
Oh
that
my
will
gosh.
suck off that energy or pull it. It shifts things and moves things, and it has to regenerate, or I don't know. I don't know.
I
Rebalance.
don't know if it's just because I'm so sensitive, but holy wow. So I've also seen different people posting about the how the Schumann resonance is just off the charts right now. And so there are different symptoms that you can feel when the Schumann resonance is really, really high like this. It's like dizziness or like a buzzing inside your body. Some people get headaches, they get really tired. Some people get really energized. Excuse me. And I've been getting major buzzing, major just like energy. I can feel it's not that I'm like energized, like I want to go run. It's that the energy inside of my body, wow, it's so much. And my aura has been expanding out. And I'm like, whew, okay, I know what's going on. So I meditate and I let I ground. I definitely want to ground into the earth. and then let it just integrate because what a lot of people think is happening right now is that the earth is raising her vibration, which means that we are also raising our vibration, but it can really whack us out if we're not paying attention. So you want to ground and you want to do some nice gentle breath work and just pay attention and take care of yourself. Do if maybe you need to take a nap or something like that and help that energy integrate. And people who don't integrate, are probably going to notice a few more symptoms that might be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting because I have felt a little like floaty flaky, I guess is the best way to put it. And yes, when I take my walks, on the beach or go stick my feet in the grass, it helps immensely to do that. And if I don't get that walk every day, I'm like, whoa, and it's like I feel like I just need to sleep. And then I get in bed and I can't sleep. It's the
Yeah,
exact
that's very common too, not being able to sleep.
yeah, yeah. I've been up late, waking up early, and it's like that's so not like me. People who've known me know I'm never been a morning person. I've always wanted to be, so this is a nice little change. But maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's this whole shift, this Schumann resonance and different energies and solar flares, and that would make sense. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are, very positive changes that are really supportive to humanity and to the planet. And it's just something else that we can work with to help raise our vibration and hopefully shift into a more positive way of being on this planet.
Yeah. I
And I
hope so.
definitely believe in that ripple effect. So as we raise
Yes.
our vibration, it is definitely affecting the rest of the planet, whether we see it or not.
Hmm. And if we can do it collectively, it's even more powerful. And I've had this vision for years, and other people have had it too, which is so cool because I'll hear somebody else talk about, it. "Oh, that's the exact same thing that I saw 20 years ago and have been feeling and wanting to happen." And it's like this grid over the earth. And this grid has these connections. And so like every time somebody sits and meditates and raises their vibration, like if we could do it 3 times a day, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or waking midday and sleeping, or whatever. But if we could do this all over the world and everybody could do it, and just do it for just a few minutes, 3 times a day, we'd be kind of all doing it all the time. And it would start to change the energy drastically and quickly if we could do that. I know that a lot of experiments have seen it happen with what's her name, Lynn McTaggart does that power of 8 where people focus on somebody and they focus and they lift their intentions. And I have a group of friends that we did your year of miracles together, and we get together every other week and we just send each other good energy and put out what we really want to see happen. And it's been amazing what happens and what changes that people have seen. So really, really beneficial. And I don't know how to like get this out as a like an app or something that people could use, and it would remind them, oh yeah, take 30 seconds to just be still and ground and send love and raise your vibration.
I
And
honestly think that something as seemingly simple as that can literally be tremendously transformational on this planet.
yeah.
And I honestly think that the powers that currently be, they know this. And I think this is why they have basically dumbed us up, or they've tried to dumb us up,
Mhm.
because, they would say for forever that, if the psychic stuff and channeling, that it's all weird. And they make people who do that, they make it look like we're not valuable to the society. But the thing is, governments have been using these for who knows how long. And I
Mhm.
don't remember exactly when it was released, but all of these files were, you probably know, were released from at least the US government several years ago. And in those files, I mean, there's thousands and thousands of files where they're showing that the government has been using
Remote viewing.
remote viewing, what is it called? The gateway process, something
I
like
think,
that.
yeah, some where they would spy on other countries
Yes.
and they would actually
Yeah.
bring people in that
It's
were
remote viewing. Yeah, yeah.
psychic. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But they do all kinds of different things. And I mean, you can learn quite a lot from what was released, even though aspects of that have certainly been, blacked out and they kept a lot of it still secret. But the
Hmm.
fact that our government revealed that they have been doing that for decades.
Yeah, yeah.
What else are they doing that they didn't even talk about?
And there's a new documentary that just came out about, they're not calling them UFOs anymore. I can't remember what the name is, like, I don't know, but it's basically the UFO. And that all of these people who were generals and very high up in the military and scientists with very clean, strong backgrounds who you would no way, shape, or form call them like loony or crazy, are saying, yeah, this stuff exists, it happens. We can't explain what it is, but it's out there and we've all seen it. And there's a lot of people that said, yes, Area 54 is a real thing, and there was an alien body, and there was a craft, and we've known about this. But not all the presidents are briefed on all of it either, is what they were saying. It's kind of a kind of a need to know, who knows, still was kept really underground, but they're starting to talk about it more. So,
Isn't that interesting that the presidents aren't even aware?
mm,
They're not kept informed on that. I found that very interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And of course, the people, I mean, you look at what happened with, was it George Orwell's War of the Worlds? People went nuts and it wasn't
Yeah.
even real. And so obviously they didn't really want to say anything to people because people would probably go a little bit crazy and do things that maybe they shouldn't do. So, and I can't blame these aliens for not wanting to have people know either, because I could see people wanting to trap them and catch them and do things to them that were not, it's kind of like what the gray aliens supposedly do to us, you know? It's like, we don't
Right.
want that. We don't really want
No.
to have, yeah, a probe.
No.
Not really.
No, thank you.
So I don't know, you know, it's another one of those fun things to think about, but to think that we are alone in this universe, to me, is a pretty pig-headed and unrealistic,
Pretty egotistical.
how big we are and how vast the universe is, and how could we be, if we were it'd be kind of disappointing, honestly. I would hope there'd be some better beings out there that could maybe teach us something. And if you look at history too, and all the different pyramids and the stories of uh the stories of origin, you know, of how we came to be, so many of them fall under that seeding concept of, you know, the aliens came down, a being from heaven, right, from space, comes down and creates us
Mhm.
in one way, shape, or form. And that could go many different cultures are going to tell that differently. But okay, so we got put here, and then the story is that, all right, we get to a certain point, then we get to go do it somewhere else, and we get to be the ones who do the creating and do the shaping, and we're not there yet, that's for sure. But
Did you see, along with all of that, very interesting, there was earlier this year, I believe it was, there was a major discovery underneath the Egyptian pyramids. Did you see that?
I heard
These
something.
massive structures underneath the pyramids that go down several thousand feet. And so underneath, what I can remember are there these four columns that go underneath. I don't know. I'm sure I'm totally off, but maybe it's 4,000 feet. I mean, it goes way, way down.
Oh,
And they are very structured. They have not only the columns, but inside of the columns, they have these spirals. And there's these different structures. So it's very interesting. You would want to look at that. But it looks like it's some kind of energy generating
yeah,
something.
it all sounds like high-tech stuff, that
Yeah,
that's what's like the shell of what's left of some very high-tech civilization that was here
thousands of years
thousands
ago.
of years ago, and everything is buried. My husband and I were just talking about that today, because where we're staying, you know, there's Mayan ruins everywhere, and we go walking, and there's all these rocks everywhere. And I said, are these just coral rocks, or is this the crumbled dwellings of these people that lived here hundreds of years before we did? And whenever they build a subway in Rome or in Greece, they tend to run into some ruin, and they have to stop and like glass it over. And when they were digging the Mayan train here in Mexico, they found Mayan ruins deep underneath the earth. And so you figure these are civilizations that the Romans were thousands, couple thousand years ago. The Mayans were maybe several hundred years ago. It's like the layers of the earth have it's like dust collecting on top of this stuff. And so the depth of some of these things, like Göbekli Tepe and some of these places, you got to wonder, why are they always unearthed?
You're
So they get
right.
buried, they get buried. And so you've got these interesting civilizations that if there was a way we could use like a LiDAR or something under the earth and get them and learn more about them, I think it'd be fascinating because they can find them now in the jungle with LiDAR. So they can go through the jungle and find things. And then I think it'd be really, really cool to go deep and see what's
Oh
going
my God. That
on.
is very cool. I remember hearing that there are even like full-on pyramids that they're now finding all around the world, in the middle of the forest, and they thought that they were just mountains, but they're actual pyramids that were built. Same
Mhm.
thing, and they've been covered over, and now there are trees growing over it.
Right. Yeah, they're completely buried. And that's what happens is Mother Nature just takes over. There was a guy, his name was Silas Rowe, and he wrote a book called Carbon Yoga. I think that's what it's called. But it was about this, he talks about this 5 mile by 5 mile plot of horribly polluted land. I think it was in India. I may be mistaken, but what this woman did was she fenced it all off and just said, no people are allowed in this space. And she just kept people out. And in less than 5 years, the whole thing was like replenished by Mother Nature. Trees grew, greenery grew over the top of all of the trash started to get like sucked into the earth and buried. And it was this beautiful, lush green space because people stayed out of it and stopped messing with it. So when you think about these jungle areas and these areas where there's no people, Mother Nature's going to do her thing. And they're going to get covered over and they're going to get buried. And so then we don't see them, we don't find them for years and years and years. And you look at eruptions and volcanoes and earthquakes and stuff that shifts, earth shifts, and look at how much dust gets on your furniture if you're gone for a couple months from your house. I mean, imagine that on an earthly scale as dirt, blowing through and filling in places. And it's just, yeah, it's so amazing what gets buried. And some of these things, if they went deeper than what we see, how tall were they? How big were they? If there's like the pyramids, if they go down, can you imagine if the surface was 1,000 feet lower than what we think it is? I mean, they could be like our big think of our skyscrapers, thousands of years from now, if all that's sticking up is, 30 feet of them. People think, oh, we built these cool little square boxes and, with flat tops and it must be temples. And, you know, we don't, it's so hard to know. It's so hard to know what they did. But yeah, I think Graham Hancock is a real interesting one. If you've ever watched his videos, he talks a lot about LiDAR and discovering all of these civilizations. And he has a lot of theories that they call him a pseudo anthropologist, I think, because he's not so traditional, but I love to hear his take on things. It's pretty interesting.
I would love to check out his stuff and see what he's about. Man, this whole human experience is such a trip.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm starting to wonder if just existence is a trip.
Mhm.
You people that do ayahuasca or some of these psychedelics and what they come back with. It's like they have oftentimes like feel like they have a deeper understanding, but it's just so wild. And it's like they almost understand that it is just wild and flowing, and we just have to let it be that way. Even though we're in these dense bodies, if we can bring a little bit of that flow in, it will help us. So,
Oh, for sure. I've done ayahuasca. I've done a lot of different plant medicines over time, and it was definitely beneficial. I know some people who have done, I think, too much. Like everything, I think balance is important. And
yes.
I know people who have done, oh my God, probably hundreds of ayahuasca trips, and I just think that's probably not a very good idea.
Mm.
For me, I've done, I don't know, a handful of them. I don't know how many times I've done it, but I think I probably will never do it again because for me, what was really valuable was having an experience of something so much bigger and a sense of love that
Mm.
is just completely indescribable. And the wisdom that came through in one of them in particular was very interesting. Ancient wisdom came through, which I had never heard anything about before. And then after the journey, I actually went online on Google and I researched and I was like, oh my God, like this is real. And all of these old Sanskrit names and things like that came through. And I was like, wow, that is really trippy. And I had a healing actually of when I was in the womb. I had the cord around my throat. And for my whole life, I couldn't have anything touching my throat.
Oh, wow.
And so through the ayahuasca experience, I had a whole memory and I went through that whole thing and healed the whole thing. And I've been fine ever since, no problem. So for me, the benefit of going through these different ayahuasca or San Pedro or any of those different medicine journeys is it gives you a very different experience of reality,
Mm.
you know? And I think that's beneficial for everybody, or can be. Maybe not everybody. I mean, I guess there are some people really that probably should not do that. But for me, I think I really did benefit from having such an expansive experience.
Did you see Mother Ayahuasca that everybody talks about?
I didn't see Mother Ayahuasca. I saw, it's interesting because you don't, well, at different times you do, I did completely lose this. This just went away. Um, there's so many different experiences. Boy, it's hard to explain. I definitely went into a completely different reality where, like, if I were looking at you, I wouldn't see you in your human body.
Mm.
I know.
Wow.
Saw a completely different, you as a completely different being. And like I might see your eyes, but I have a very strong sensitivity to the third eye in my own being, but I can also see it in other people. And I can see when their third eye is still asleep, and I can see when they're a little bit more awake, and I can also see when people are like really aware. But what I'm learning in my old age and my many years is to pay attention. I've had that ability for forever, but I never trusted it. I always just thought I was making it up. But when I trust in this, it's really remarkable.
Yeah.
And I think maybe for me, that's one of the blessings about getting older is I'm starting to trust this so much more.
Take care. We'll talk soon.
Okay, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
To hear it.
Yes, it is. There's so many distractions in life.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I live extremely simply now, and I love it so much. I knew for a long time when I was living in the States that I just wanted to live simply. There's so many distractions there, and
Mhm.
it's difficult to know how to live simply there. You've got so much coming at you. And here, I live so simply, and there are no distractions. Like I get to meditate every single day. And you really have to work at that in the United States.
Yeah. Mm. You have to.
And here it's just much more supportive to be able to have that kind of a very, very simple life. Like I don't have a house, I don't have stuff,
Yeah.
just live simply.
Well, my dear, I'm going to go let you go rest and heal. And thank you again for being my dear friend and connecting over the pond with me and shooting the breeze on all these fun things.
Thank you so much, sweetie. I love connecting with you always.